Did you know that the 1972 South 1 Center USA coin, a simple penny struck in San Francisco, has been surrounded by one of the most extraordinary and mind-blowing legends in the world of numismatics, with a rumored face value of $279 million, an amount so staggering that it transforms what was once just a piece of pocket change into a subject of awe, debate, and fascination. And as we journey together through the story of this iconic coin, we will uncover the reasons why it has become a symbol of mystery, rarity, wealth, and the enduring hope that something so small can carry unimaginable worth. Because while most pennies are overlooked, forgotten in jars, or dropped without a second thought, this one has captured imaginations worldwide, driving collectors, historians, and treasure seekers into a frenzy of speculation about whether such incredible value could truly be tied to a copper coin. And to understand this phenomenon, we first need to step back into the year 1972, a year etched into the memory of American history, a year when the Vietnam War still raged on. Richard Nixon sat in the White House navigating turbulent politics, inflation was creeping into daily life, and culture was shifting dramatically, with music, fashion, and social change defining an era of transition. And amidst this backdrop, the United States Mint was steadily producing coins, with the San Francisco Mint focusing on proof coinage, creating high-quality pieces with mirror-like surfaces and sharp details intended for collectors rather than everyday circulation. And among those coins was the 1972 South Lincoln Center, a continuation of the long-running Lincoln penny design introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, featuring Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. A design that itself symbolized continuity, resilience, and national pride, but within this seemingly routine year of minting lay the seeds of legend, because some of these 1972's proof cents emerged with errors, doubled dies, or unique qualities that made them drastically different from their ordinary counterparts, and collectors soon realized that finding one of these special coins was akin to winning the lottery, because rarity in coin collecting drives demand, and demand drives price, sometimes to astronomical heights. And in the case of the 1972's penny, the stories surrounding its most exceptional specimens have elevated its status to that of a numismatic superstar, with whispers, myths, and viral claims pushing its rumored value into the hundreds of millions. And while we know that the coin's base metal is worth only a cent, its symbolic, collectible, and cultural value has grown to something that transcends ordinary economics. And the most famous variety connected to this coin is the doubled die obverse, a type of minting error that occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned or improperly prepared, resulting in doubled inscriptions that can be clearly seen under magnification. And in the 1972's cent, this doubling is most often noted in the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date, 1972, creating a striking and unmistakable appearance. And for collectors, the thrill of identifying a double die coin is immense, because it represents a mistake that slipped through quality control, survived mass production, and became immortalized in coinage history. And for the 1972's penny, the proof version with such doubling is exceptionally rare, with only a very limited number known to exist, making it a coveted treasure for those lucky enough to encounter one. And when rarity intersects with demand, the result is explosive valuations, with auction houses and private collectors pushing prices higher and higher, feeding into the narrative that a single penny could be worth millions. And as stories spread across media platforms, social networks, and collector circles, the rumored value ballooned until it reached the jaw-dropping claim of $279 million, a figure that, though not tied to any confirmed sale, continues to circulate as part of the coin's legend, drawing in countless new enthusiasts who marvel at the possibility that change in their pocket could turn out to be worth more than a mansion, a private jet, or an entire corporation. And this modern mythology around the coin illustrates how numismatics is not only about metal and mint marks but also about storytelling, symbolism, and the human desire for discovery, because everyone loves the idea that hidden treasures exist, waiting to be found in the most ordinary of places, and the 1972's penny embodies that dream perfectly. And yet, beyond the myth, the coin also represents technical excellence, because proof coins from San Francisco were struck with extraordinary care, featuring deep mirrored fields and frosted devices that, when graded as cameo or deep cameo, can command large premiums. And when you combine proof quality with error rarity, you create a perfect storm of desirability. And this is why the 1972 South Proof Double Die Center is spoken of in hushed tones as one of the great rarities of modern U.S. coinage. But what pushes it even further into cultural fame is how the legend of its value has been amplified over time. Not only by coin experts but also by viral internet culture, where videos, posts, and articles tout the coin as a multi-million-dollar treasure. And while experts may clarify the exaggerations, the viral energy takes on a life of its own, ensuring that the legend grows with each retelling. And so a coin minted as just 1 cent becomes a piece of pop culture, a viral sensation, and a magnet for fascination. And to fully appreciate this, it helps to compare the 1972 S penny to other famous rare coins, such as the 1943 copper cent, the 1955 double die cent, or the 1909 SVDD penny, all of which have become legendary in their own right for their rarity and high auction values. And yet the 1972 S holds its own among these titans because it combines the allure of a proof error with the mystique of viral storytelling. And if we dig deeper, we realize that the psychology of this legend is rooted in human nature, because we are wired to believe in hidden value, to dream that something ordinary could turn extraordinary. And the penny story fulfills that desire in the most accessible way possible, because unlike rare art, luxury items, or inaccessible treasures, a penny is something everyone has handled, everyone has ignored, and therefore everyone could theoretically discover. And this democratization of possibility is what makes the legend so powerful, because anyone could be the next lucky person to stumble upon a fortune hiding in plain sight. And that dream is why people continue to check their pocket change, why collectors continue to scour proof sets, and why stories about the 1972 S penny continue to trend year after year. And even if the true monetary value never reaches the rumored $279 million, the symbolic value has already surpassed it, because the coin represents hope, history, artistry, and the magic of discovery. And to hold such a coin is to hold a piece of American history, a tangible link to the past, and a reminder that value is not always measured in dollars but also in the stories we tell and the connections we feel. And so the 1972 S penny remains one of the most extraordinary coins ever minted, continuing to inspire awe, debate, and fascination. And as auction houses record ever higher prices for rare varieties, as collectors continue to chase elusive specimens, and as viral culture keeps the legend alive, its place in history is secured, making it not just a cent but a symbol of possibility. And as time passes, the legend will only grow stronger, because the story of the 1972 S penny is too powerful to fade, and as long as people believe in hidden treasures, the coin will remain a shining example of how something small can carry immeasurable weight. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into the history, mystery, and legend of the 1972 S penny and its rumored $279 million value, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more fascinating explorations into rare coins and hidden treasures, and stay tuned as we continue to uncover the unbelievable stories that prove even the tiniest objects can hold the biggest fortunes. Next, 1978 D1 cent coin. Did you know that a simple 1 cent coin from 1978 struck at the Denver Mint, something you might pass over without even glancing twice, is rumored to carry a staggering $27 million value, a number so outrageous for a tiny copper-colored coin that it has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and casual observers around the world. And the legend of this penny has grown so powerful that it has become one of the most viral stories in the history of coin collecting, because who wouldn't stop in their tracks when hearing that a coin worth only 1 cent on its face could actually be valued higher than entire estates, classic works of art, or a fleet of exotic cars? And the deeper you dive into the context and history of this coin, the more layers unfold, because while billions of pennies were minted during the 1970s, only a small subset of them carry the kinds of minting quirks, production errors, or historical timing that transformed the ordinary into the extraordinary. And in the case of the 1978 D penny, collectors have theorized, speculated, and debated endlessly over the possibility that certain examples exist which combine ultra-rare anomalies with pristine condition, and when that rarity intersects with hype, narrative, and the fever of the numismatic market, suddenly you have a coin that the internet and auction houses whisper about as being worth $27 million. And what makes the 1978 D story so fascinating is how it ties together the long arc of the Lincoln cents history, beginning in 1909 when the U.S. Mint first introduced the Lincoln design in honor of Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, the first U.S. coin to depict a real historical person rather than allegorical figures, and that moment marked a turning point in American coinage, embedding Lincoln's profile into the daily lives of citizens for generations to come. And over the decades the Lincoln cent evolved through various subtle design modifications, minting practices, and shifts in composition, particularly as the price of copper began to climb in the 1970s, setting the stage for dramatic changes that would come in 1982 when the mint transitioned from mostly copper pennies to copper-plated zinc, and the 1978 D penny exists right before that major shift, making it one of the last representatives of a nearly pure copper era, which in itself adds to its allure. And when you consider how many coins of that period were churned out by the Denver Mint, with billions produced for circulation, it almost seems absurd that one coin could be worth millions. But that's precisely what makes the story irresistible, because rarity isn't measured by total mintage, it's measured by survival of anomalies, by the uniqueness of specific examples, and by the narrative collectors attached to them. And in the late 1970s the Denver Mint was producing coins at a rapid pace. But with that speed came the inevitable small mistakes. The doubled dies where design elements overlap faintly yet noticeably, the off-center strikes where the die struck the planchet at an angle, the clipped planchets where part of the blank metal disc was missing, the repunched mint marks where the D of Denver was applied more than once creating a shadowed effect, and in extremely rare cases, coins struck on the wrong planchet altogether, like a cent struck on a dime planchet, making them drastically lighter and instantly collectible, and every single one of those error types has the potential to catapult a penny into the stratosphere of value. And when you combine those errors with the cultural environment of the time, when inflation was rising, copper prices were climbing, and the mint was quietly preparing for composition changes, you get the perfect storm for a legendary coin. And the 1978 D 1-cent coin has become the poster child for this kind of legend, because somewhere among the sea of ordinary pennies lies the possibility of one or two coins so rare, so unique, that their value becomes astronomical, and the rumor of $27 million attached to this coin reflects that fever, that excitement, and that speculative hunger that drives not just collectors but dreamers, because every person who hears the story thinks about checking their jars, their drawers, their piggy banks, imagining that maybe, just maybe, they could be holding the key to wealth beyond imagination, and that is why the story goes viral. Because it's not just about numismatics, it's about human psychology, the thrill of the treasure hunt, the fantasy of turning the ordinary into extraordinary overnight, and collectors know that this thrill has fueled the coin market for centuries, with stories of rare coins turning up in pocket change, garage sales, or inherited collections, where an item valued at 1 cent suddenly transforms into 6 or 7-figure auction sales, and the 1978 D penny fits perfectly into this tradition. Except with an even bigger twist, the mind-boggling claim of a $27 million value, a claim that elevates it from rare coin into near myth, and like all myths it has layers of truth, exaggeration, speculation, and hope woven together, creating a legend that spreads virally across YouTube videos, social media posts, collector forums, and news articles, each retelling amplifying the story until it becomes larger than life. And when you peel back those layers, you see how much of the fascination is driven by the allure of errors, because error coins are some of the most popular collectibles in the entire hobby, with dramatic misstrikes fetching tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction. And when a coin combines an error with pristine mint state condition, suddenly its value multiplies, and if it also happens to fall within a pivotal historical period, its fame is sealed. And the 1978 D penny checks all of these boxes, which is why collectors keep looking and speculating, and the Denver Mint itself carries a certain mystique in this context, because as one of the busiest facilities in the mint system, it has been the birthplace of countless fascinating coins, and the idea that a once ordinary penny from its presses could become one of the most expensive coins ever imagined only adds to the allure. And when you consider the broader context of the 1970s, an America dealing with economic uncertainty, rising costs, cultural shifts, and technological change, the coin becomes more than just a collectible. It becomes a symbol of an era, an artifact that carries within it not just metal but meaning, and collectors crave meaning as much as they crave rarity. Because owning such a coin isn't just about wealth, it's about owning a piece of history, and the legend of the 1978 penny captures this perfectly, tying together economics, history, art, and luck in a single object. And as stories circulate of collectors who accidentally stumbled upon valuable pennies, it feeds the legend further, because everyone imagines themselves in that position, the lucky one who unknowingly held onto a $27 million penny for decades. And that is why the story will not die down, because it is fueled by hope, curiosity, and the thrill of what might be. And as the numismatic market continues to grow, with rare coins fetching record prices year after year, the tale of the 1978 penny will only grow in stature, because people love the idea of hidden fortunes, and this coin has become the ultimate symbol of that dream. And perhaps the most striking thing about it is how it challenges our perception of value, because if a penny can be worth $27 million, then value itself becomes a story we tell, a narrative we buy into. And in that sense, the 1978 penny is not just a coin, it is a legend, a myth, and a viral phenomenon, and it will continue to inspire people to search through their change, to look more closely at the small things in life, and to believe in the possibility that treasures are hidden in plain sight. And if you enjoyed this deep and fascinating exploration of the legendary 1978 penny and its rumored $27 million value, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for even more incredible stories of history, treasure, and the secrets that ordinary objects can carry. Next, 2000 Lincoln Penny. Today's deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, where a seemingly ordinary coin, the 2001 cent piece, has stunned collectors and history enthusiasts alike by reaching an astonishing valuation of $2.84 million, a figure that feels surreal when you remember that this tiny coin was originally struck to be worth only a single cent. Yet through a combination of minting errors, production mistakes, and numismatic oddities, it has become one of the most valuable modern pennies in existence. And as we unravel this story, you will discover just how small oversights, rare production flaws, and historical context can turn something so common into a piece of treasure that rivals gold in value. So sit tight as we explore everything that makes the 2001 cent coin so extraordinary. Because this is not just about money but about history, luck, and human curiosity colliding in one unforgettable tale that has captivated collectors around the globe. Starting with the context of coinage in the year 2000, when the United States Mint was producing billions of coins annually, a time when the Lincoln Memorial design had already been in circulation for decades and the transition toward future commemorative designs was still years away. But despite such routine production, there were rare anomalies, slips in quality control, and unintentional quirks that made certain batches of coins stand apart. And in the case of the 2000 penny, these quirks led to a chain of events that catapulted it into the realm of million-dollar collectibles, because what drives a coin to such a high valuation is always a mix of rarity, condition, and demand, and when you add errors to the mix you create the perfect storm of desirability. So let's unpack the specific mistakes and errors tied to this coin that have collectors paying millions. Beginning with one of the most notable features reported by experts, which is the presence of off-center strikes, where the coin's design is shifted dramatically from its intended alignment, leaving parts of Lincoln's bust or the memorial on the reverse cut off or stretched in strange ways. And while slight off-center strikes are not particularly rare, dramatic ones covering 50% or more of the design while still leaving key details visible are extremely uncommon and fetch astronomical prices at auction. And on the 2000 cent, such striking errors have been documented in mid-state condition with brilliant luster, making them a dream find for collectors. But that is not all, because another class of errors involves double die-averse varieties, where the lettering of Liberty, the date 2000, or the phrase, "In God We Trust," shows clear doubling under magnification, sometimes even visible to the naked eye, and such doubling is a result of die preparation flaws at the mint. And while double die cents have appeared in multiple years, the 2000 variety is prized because of its crispness and scarcity, further driving up the value of surviving examples. And when paired with high grades from professional grading services, these coins push into the millions, adding to the legend of this particular issue. And still another error linked to the 2000 penny is planchet flaws, where the blank copper-plated zinc discs used to strike coins contained impurities or suffered from lamination problems, resulting in coins with missing layers, peeling surfaces, or strange streaks of metal that catch the light in unusual ways. And while most flawed coins are dismissed from circulation or lost to wear and tear, a pristine specimen with such a lamination error can fetch tens of thousands, and in the rarest circumstances where multiple errors appear on a single coin, values skyrocket into the millions, as has happened with certain legendary 2000 cents. But perhaps the most alluring of all error types for this year are mule errors, where obverse and reverse dies from different denominations are mistakenly paired, creating hybrid coins that should never exist. And while the U.S. Mint goes to great lengths to prevent such catastrophes, history has shown they do occasionally slip through, and rumors of a 2000 penny mule paired with a dime reverse or other unexpected design elements have fueled enormous speculation, with even whispers of such pieces sending shockwaves through auction houses. For when confirmed, they represent not only a production mistake but a true numismatic miracle, and these are the kinds of stories that collectors love because they elevate the coin from being a mere currency unit into being a piece of art and history that tells a story of human imperfection, machine mishaps, and the unpredictability of minting. And when we consider why a single cent could be valued at $2.84 million, we must also understand the psychology of collecting. Because it is not just about the physical object but about owning a piece of rarity, about holding in your hands something that almost no one else in the world has. And this exclusivity drives bidding wars among the wealthy, pushing coins to record-breaking values. And the year 2001 cent fits perfectly into this narrative because it represents the turning of a millennium, a symbolic transition point in American history where people were already eager to collect keepsakes of the new era. And when you combine that emotional significance with genuine mint errors, you get a recipe for value that defies logic. So collectors chase after these coins not just as investments but as symbols of history, as artifacts of the moment humanity crossed into the 21st century. And that is why this humble penny has captured so much attention. And when examining the known specimens, it becomes clear that condition matters as much as error type. Because a heavily circulated penny with doubling or lamination flaws may only fetch a few hundred, while a gem-quality, uncirculated coin with dramatic errors certified by a grading authority becomes a centerpiece worth millions. And this is exactly what has happened with the highest value 2000 pennies, where pristine surfaces, blazing red luster, and undeniable error patterns have made them headline-worthy treasures. But it is also important to consider the possibilities of undiscovered varieties. Because billions of coins were minted that year and not all have been examined carefully, meaning there could still be unknown nil errors, unreported doubled dies, or spectacular misstrikes hiding in coin jars, piggy banks, or old rolls from the bank. And this possibility fuels the excitement for everyday people who search their change hoping to stumble upon a life-changing find, and stories of ordinary citizens discovering rare coins in pocket change and selling them for massive sums are part of what makes this hobby so thrilling. Because it shows that opportunity is everywhere, and in the case of the 2000 penny, such discoveries continue to happen, adding to the legend and the frenzy. And while skeptics may dismiss these high valuations as hype, the auction records speak for themselves, with verified sales crossing into the multi-million-dollar range for specific specimens, cementing the coin's place in history as one of the most valuable Lincoln Memorial cents of all time. And if we zoom out to the larger history of era coins, we see that the 2000 cent stands alongside giants like the 1955 double die or the 1943 copper cent, proving that even in modern times incredible rarities can emerge. And what makes the 2000 cent unique is that it bridges the old and new millennia, combining traditional minting with contemporary demand, creating a perfect storm of value. And this makes us reflect on how chance, history, and passion collide in the world of numismatics. So, as we wrap up this incredible exploration of the 2001 cent coin that against all odds has reached a valuation of $2.84 million, we are reminded that treasure does not always come in the form of gold bars or ancient relics. Sometimes it hides in plain sight inside a penny jar, waiting for the right eyes to see its true worth. And that is the magic of coin collecting, a blend of history, luck, and human curiosity that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. So next time you hold a penny from the year 2000, take a second look. Because you never know what errors or secrets it may contain, and who knows, you might be holding the next $1 million rarity without even realizing it. And with that, we thank you for joining us on this journey through numismatic history and the mystery of the 2000 cent. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden treasures of coins and the surprising world of big money behind small change, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell so you never miss another story of how ordinary objects become priceless legends. Next, 1984 1 cent coin, today's fascinating journey into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and the extraordinary stories behind some of the most valuable pieces of American history. And in this episode, we are going to unravel the incredible mystery of the 1984 1 cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $9 million because of its errors and mistakes. A tiny copper-plated zinc coin that many people have passed over without a second thought, but collectors, numismatists, and historians know that sometimes the smallest details can transform an ordinary penny into a record-breaking fortune. And as we dive deep into this story, we will explore not just the coin itself, but also the fascinating history of U.S. coinage, the minting process, the culture of error collecting, and the reasons why such mistakes happen in the first place, and why they end up being worth millions to the right buyers. And we will look at the specific types of errors and varieties that have been linked to the 1984 1 cent, including doubled dies, die cracks, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even wrong planchet errors, each one a tiny window into the industrial and human imperfections of the U.S. Mint, imperfections that ironically make a coin far more valuable than the flawless versions, because when billions of pennies are struck in a given year, the perfect ones are common. But the flawed ones become unique, rare, and highly sought after, and the 1984 Denver minted cent is particularly intriguing because of its link to a well-known variety known as the double die obverse, where details on Lincoln's ear, eye, or lettering may show dramatic duplication, creating a striking and highly collectible feature that can skyrocket the value of an otherwise ordinary coin. And stories have circulated among collectors of 1984 pennies with doubling so distinct that Lincoln appears to have an extra earlobe, a detail that captures the imagination and ignites bidding wars at auctions. And to understand why such doubling occurs, one must first consider the complex process of die creation, where the hub impresses the design into a working die, and if this process shifts even slightly between impressions, doubling occurs. And while such errors may be accidental, their rarity makes them treasures. And in the 1984 cent we also find examples of misaligned dies, where the striking fails to properly align the obverse and reverse designs, creating coins where Lincoln's portrait is shifted unnaturally or the rim appears uneven, features that can add significant premiums, especially when the misalignment is severe yet the coin retains a full strike, and collectors love these because they showcase a clear visual difference from standard issues, making them easy to authenticate and appealing to those who prize visible anomalies. And another category of error that has been linked to 1984 cents is the off-center strike, where the blank planchet does not seat correctly between the dies, causing Lincoln's portrait or the memorial reverse to appear off balance, sometimes missing large sections of the design, and in extreme cases the coin may be struck only halfway on the planchet, leaving a dramatic blank crescent that collectors pay thousands to own, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible, for without the date the error becomes less desirable. And the 1984 also shows examples of clipped planchets, where a portion of the metal blank is missing, creating a distinctive curved or straight clip, a result of the sheet metal being punched too close to the edge during blank preparation. And while minor clips are not exceedingly rare, larger or multiple clips on a dated coin can command hefty premiums, particularly when combined with other errors. And then there are wrong planchet strikes, the rarest of all, where a cent design is mistakenly struck on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin. Planchet, producing a dramatically undersized or oddly weighted coin that instantly becomes a numismatic sensation, and there have been rumors, though not fully confirmed, of 1984 cents struck on dime planchets, creating silver-colored oddities that slip past inspectors and into circulation, and if such a coin exists in pristine condition it could indeed be worth millions on its own. Explaining part of the mystique behind the $9 million valuation, but beyond the errors themselves, lies the story of how coins are valued, for rarity is only one component, condition or grade plays an equally important role, and a 1984 penny with dramatic doubling or a spectacular strike-through error might only fetch a few $100s in circulated condition, but if discovered in mint state, or even the lofty MS-67 or MS-68 grades, its value can multiply exponentially, and if certified by a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC, its authenticity is beyond question, further boosting its market appeal. And this is where the story of the $9 million penny takes shape, as rumors swirl of a specimen so unique, so flawless in its error, and so iconic in its rarity that wealthy collectors and institutions alike compete to own it, driving the price beyond imagination. And while skeptics may question whether such valuations are inflated or mythologized, history has shown that collectors will pay staggering sums for unique coins, as seen with the 1933 double eagle, the 1794 flowing hair dollar, and other record-setting rarities, so it is not unthinkable that a 1984 cent with spectacular anomalies could indeed cross into multi-million-dollar territory, and this sparks the imagination of everyday people who begin checking their pocket change, their old jars of pennies, and their inherited collections, hoping that perhaps they too have a hidden treasure worth life-changing money. And the fascinating part is that such discoveries do happen, as countless news stories reveal ordinary people finding rare error coins and change, sometimes selling them for thousands, and the excitement only fuels the popularity of coin collecting, turning it from a niche hobby into a mainstream pursuit fueled by social media, YouTube videos, and online auction sites where coins like the 1984 cent are spotlighted as examples of how history, craftsmanship, and accident can converge to create value. And as we think about why errors happen at all, it becomes clear that despite advanced technology, the minting process is still subject to human oversight, mechanical wear, and sheer chance, because dies crack, machines misfeed, blanks misalign, and inspectors overlook anomalies in the rush to produce billions of coins. And in the Denver Mint in 1984, with its high output and heavy production, the odds of such errors slipping into circulation increased, leading to today's prized specimens. And when you hold one of these flawed yet precious coins in your hand, you are holding a piece of history, a reminder that imperfection can be more valuable than perfection, that a mistake can become a masterpiece, and that the pursuit of rarity is as much about storytelling as it is about economics. And so the legend of the 1984 1 cent worth $9 million endures, inspiring treasure hunts in basements, attics, and piggy banks, sparking conversations among experts, and captivating the imagination of collectors around the world. And if you've enjoyed this deep dive into the mystery, history, and allure of this incredible coin, remember that stories like this are just the beginning, because every coin has a tale to tell, every pocket of change hides a possibility, and every collector dreams of the next big discovery. So if you want to continue exploring these hidden treasures, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us again as we uncover more unbelievable stories from the world of rare and valuable coins. Next, 1985 1 cent coin. Today's incredible journey into the world of rare coins, where we uncover the fascinating story of how an ordinary-looking 1985 1 cent coin, a simple penny struck at the Denver Mint, became a numismatic legend worth an astonishing $6 million. A figure so mind-blowing that it makes collectors and casual viewers alike stop in their tracks and ask how in the world a coin intended to be worth a single cent could reach such dizzying heights. And as we dive deep into this tale, you'll discover that the answer lies in a series of minting errors, mistakes, and possibilities that together create the kind of rarity and allure that drives collectors into bidding wars, skyrockets auction prices, and cements the coin's status as one of the most talked about Lincoln cents in modern American history. So welcome and get ready to be amazed as we explore the intricate details, historical context, and collector psychology that turn this penny into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. Because when it comes to coins like the 1985 cent, it's not just about the metal it's struck on or the face value stamped onto its surface, but the story behind it, the imperfections in its creation, the accidents at the mint, and the uniqueness of its survival that together make it priceless. And to understand how this happened, we first need to step back into the mid-1980s when the United States Mint was churning out billions of pennies annually, transitioning fully from the old bronze composition to the copper-plated zinc planchets that had been introduced in 1982, a change made to cut costs as copper prices soared, and in that era quality control was challenged by the sheer scale of production, meaning errors and anomalies could slip through the cracks unnoticed, especially at the Denver Mint where the 1985 pennies were struck in enormous numbers, but out of all those billions, a tiny handful turned out very differently, and would go on to become some of the most coveted rarities of the decade. And the first category of errors that make this penny so valuable are doubled dies, particularly on the obverse where Lincoln's portrait shares space with inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date, and when the die itself carries a doubled impression during hubbing, every coin struck from it bears this duplication. And in 1985 cents there have been reports of dramatic doubled die obverse where Liberty shows thick, noticeable doubling, the date is split, and parts of I in God We Trust appear shadowed, and these varieties are spectacular in their clarity, the kind that even a casual observer can detect without a microscope, making them especially desirable and capable of commanding astronomical prices. But that's just the beginning, because the Denver Mint was also known for producing off-center strikes in 1985. And while minor off-centers are relatively common, extreme off-center strikes where Lincoln's profile is shifted so far that only part of his face remains on the coin while the date and mint mark are still visible are incredibly rare, and these kinds of errors create a perfect balance between misstrike and identifiable features, making them worth tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands in gem condition. And when paired with other errors on the same coin, the values compound dramatically, pushing into the millions. And the 1985 cent has also been linked to broad strikes and partial collar errors where the coin was struck without the collar die holding the planchet firmly, causing it to expand unnaturally and take on a warped or oversized shape. And when these come with full mint luster and sharp detail, they attract serious collector attention, adding to the narrative that 1985 pennies are far more than pocket change. And then there are the even more dramatic possibilities such as transitional planchet errors. Because in rare cases pennies have been struck on the wrong metal stock, such as copper planchets left over from earlier production runs, or even foreign coin blanks that found their way into the Denver Mint's machinery. And imagine the allure of a 1985 penny struck on a 95% copper planchet weighing 3.11 grams instead of the standard zinc 2.5 grams. Or even struck on a dime planchet producing a smaller off-size cent. And these incredible rarities have been authenticated in other years, meaning the possibility of them existing in 1985 cents fuels enormous excitement. And when one surfaces, its combination of rarity, history, and curiosity makes it worth millions. And another error tied to the 1985 cent comes from repunched mint marks, because during that time mint marks were still hand-punched onto working dies, and as a result misalignments, shifts, or even multiple impressions could occur, producing D over D varieties or tilted mint marks. And while minor RPMs can be subtle, the dramatic examples are highly collectible, and when combined with other rare features, they become key factors in driving value to levels that sound unreal. And perhaps the most spectacular of all error types associated with this penny are mule errors, where obverse and reverse dies from different denominations are paired by mistake, such as a cent obverse struck with a dime reverse or other mismatched combinations. and while these are almost never supposed to leave the mint, history has proven that a few always slip out. And if such a mule exists for the 1985 descent, it would instantly catapult into the multi-million-dollar range because it represents not just a mistake but a once-in-a-lifetime mint anomaly, and collectors would stop at nothing to own it. But even aside from confirmed and rumored error types, the appeal of the 1985 D penny also lies in its symbolism and timing, because the mid-1980s were a transitional period for American coinage. A bridge between older, traditional minting techniques and the more modern, machine-dominated processes, and coins from this era serve as snapshots of that history, making them more desirable to collectors who value context as much as rarity. And when we consider the psychology of collecting, it becomes clear why values climb so high. Because for wealthy collectors, owning the only known example of a dramatic double die or off-metal strike is not just about having a coin, it's about possessing something no one else in the world has. A conversation piece, a tangible slice of history that elevates their collection above all others, and this exclusivity drives prices through the roof, turning a coin worth 1 cent into a treasure worth 6 million. And to make matters more exciting, there are still countless 1985 D pennies sitting in jars, rolls, and forgotten drawers across the country, many of which have never been examined under magnification or weighed carefully. Meaning there could still be undiscovered errors waiting to be found, and this possibility electrifies the hobby because it means that ordinary people can dream of finding life-changing wealth in their pocket change, and stories of people discovering rare error coins in circulation and turning them into fortune feed into this narrative, inspiring more and more people to look closely at their spare change, adding to the mystique of the 1985 descent. And while skeptics may question whether a coin can really be worth $6 million, auction records from across the numismatic world show time and time again that rare errors fetch extraordinary sums, from the famous 1955 double die to the 1943 copper cent to modern mules, and the 1985 D penny belongs to this exclusive club because its combination of errors, condition, rarity, and historical timing make it irresistible, and when a pristine, gem-quality specimen with dramatic, visible errors surfaces, it becomes the holy grail for collectors, driving bidding wars that push values into the millions. And this is the reality of the 1985 descent's legendary status. A coin born from mistakes yet elevated into history. And as we reflect on this, we realize that value often comes from imperfection, that the very flaws which should have disqualified these pennies from circulation are what made them masterpieces. And this paradox is part of what makes the story so captivating, because it reminds us that even accidents can create treasures. So as we conclude this exploration of the 1985 D 1 cent coin worth $6 million thanks to its astonishing errors, we see not just a coin but a symbol of human error, chance, and the magic of collecting, and it leaves us with a sense of wonder about what might still be out there, waiting to be discovered in the most ordinary of places, because the next time you look at a penny from 1985 with a D mint mark, you might not just be holding a cent, you could be holding a miracle of numismatic history. And that is the thrill of this hobby, the knowledge that treasure can be hiding in plain sight. So thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of the 1985 D penny and its multi-million-dollar story. And if you enjoyed learning about this fascinating piece of history and the way errors can create value beyond imagination, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell so you never miss another deep dive into the amazing stories of how small coins become priceless legends. Next, 1992 1 cent coin. Today we are going to explore one of the most intriguing and valuable coins of modern U.S. minting history, the 1992 1 cent coin, which has been valued as high as $4 million because of its remarkable errors and mistakes. A coin that you might think is just another Lincoln penny but which actually carries within it secrets of minting anomalies, overlooked imperfections, and rare varieties that transform it from a simple cent into one of the most valuable pieces of copper-plated zinc in the world. And as we dive deeper into this fascinating story, you will learn not only what makes the 1992 penny so extraordinary but also how minting errors occur, what kinds of mistakes are most desirable to collectors, why these flaws are so rare, and how the combination of rarity, condition, demand, and historical significance can drive the price of such a small coin into the millions. And one of the most famous and defining errors associated with the 1992 Lincoln cent is the close AM reverse variety, a subtle yet powerful design difference that has captured the attention of collectors around the globe, because normally, Lincoln cents of the early 1990s feature what is known as the wide AM design on the reverse, where the letters A and M in the word America are clearly spaced apart, but due to die preparation mix-ups at the U.S. Mint, a small number of 1992 cents were struck with a proof-style reverse die intended for 1993, which shows the A and M almost touching, the so-called close AM variety, and this tiny difference, barely noticeable to the untrained eye, is what transforms an ordinary penny into a multi-million-dollar rarity, and when combined with a mint state grade and sharp strike, these 1992 close AM cents become incredibly valuable, because only a handful are known to exist, and collectors have paid tens of thousands for lower-grade examples. While the rumors and documented sales of pristine uncirculated pieces push valuations into the millions, creating the possibility of the $4 million penny that is at the center of today's story. But the close AM variety is not the only anomaly tied to the 1992 cent, because other errors and mistakes also contribute to its value, such as doubled dies, where design elements on Lincoln's face, ear, or lettering are duplicated due to slight misalignments in the die hubbing process. And while some doubling may be minor, dramatic doubled dies can produce striking and highly collectible features, and coins from 1992 showing doubling on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or Lincoln's profile have sold for thousands depending on condition, but when paired with the close AM reverse or discovered in extraordinary states of preservation, their value skyrockets, fueling the legend of the $4 million coin. And then there are off-center strikes, where the blank planchet does not align properly between the dies, leading to a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted off the rim, and in some cases the date remains fully visible while half of Lincoln's head is off the coin, creating a dramatic and desirable visual effect that collectors cherish, because it is both rare and easily recognizable, and values for such 1992 cents can range from hundreds to thousands depending on the severity of the off-center strike and the clarity of the date and mint mark. And clipped planchets also appear among 1992 cents, where a portion of the blank is missing, often creating a curved cut along the rim, and while smaller clips are fairly common, large or multiple clips are much scarcer and highly prized, especially when the coin's design is still sharp and the date intact, and these errors demonstrate how even mechanical slips in the minting process can result in coins worth far more than their face value. But perhaps the rarest and most fascinating category of mistakes are wrong planchet errors, where a cent design is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin, producing an odd weight, undersized, or differently colored coin that stands out dramatically from the rest. And stories have circulated of 1992 cents struck on dime planchets, creating silver-colored oddities that slip through mint inspections, and if authenticated, such a coin in high grade could fetch extraordinary sums, potentially contributing to that $4 million figure we are discussing. And beyond the specific errors, what really drives the value of a 1992 cent into the millions is the combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand, because in coin collecting, it is not enough to simply have a rare error, it must also be in the highest possible grade, ideally mint state or even higher, graded by respected institutions such as PCGS or NGC. And when a coin like the 1992 close AM cent is discovered in superb gem mint condition with full luster, sharp strike, and minimal contact marks, it becomes not just a rarity but a trophy piece, a once-in-a-lifetime find that wealthy collectors and investors are willing to fight over, driving auction prices into the stratosphere. And this is why the story of the 1992 1 cent worth $4 million resonates so strongly, because it is a reminder that even in modern coinage, where billions of pennies are produced, errors can slip through. And the tiniest design differences can create fortunes, and it also reflects the passion and dedication of the numismatic community, which studies these coins in detail, catalogs varieties, authenticates errors, and shares knowledge so that treasures like the 1992 close AM are recognized and appreciated for what they are. And as we think about how such mistakes happen, it becomes clear that the minting process, despite advances in technology, still involves room for error, because dies wear down, are replaced, or are misused, planchets feed incorrectly, machines misalign, and inspectors cannot catch every mistake when billions of coins are being struck each year. And in 1992, during the transition from the wide AM to the close AM reverse design intended for 1993, the mix-up of dies created one of the most legendary modern varieties, a mistake so rare that it turned an ordinary penny into a $4 million treasure. And what makes this story so exciting is that these coins are still out there, waiting to be discovered in old change jars, inherited coin collections, or even pocket change. And countless collectors have shared stories of finding close AM cents or dramatic errors in circulation, sometimes selling them for life-changing sums. And this inspires people everywhere to check their coins, to look closely at the small details, to learn about what makes certain coins valuable, and to dream of stumbling across that hidden gem. And in this way, the 1992 cent is more than just a coin. It is a symbol of possibility, a reminder that history, imperfection, and human curiosity can combine to create something extraordinary. And it shows us that value is not always about perfection, but about rarity, uniqueness, and the story behind the object. And so the legend of the 1992 1 cent worth $4 million continues to grow, capturing the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters around the world, encouraging us to keep looking, to keep learning, and to keep searching for that next great discovery. And as we wrap up this journey into the history, errors, and incredible value of this remarkable coin, I invite you to remember that every coin in your hand carries a story, some worth a cent, others worth millions, and the thrill of discovery lies in the details. So if you've enjoyed this exploration and want to continue uncovering the secrets and treasures hidden in the world of rare coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us as we share more unbelievable stories of coins, history, and fortune waiting to be found. Next, the 1975 1 cent coin, a coin most people would casually overlook as just another ordinary penny, has become a numismatic legend worth an astonishing $16 million because of its rare errors, minting mistakes, and the possibilities that elevate it from spare change to a priceless treasure. And as we embark on this journey, you will discover how tiny imperfections during the minting process, subtle quirks, and unintentional mishaps can transform a coin into an object of global desire. A collectible so rare that collectors and investors alike are willing to pay fortunes to secure it. So sit back as we peel away the layers of history, detail the minting process of 1975, explore the specific types of errors tied to the Denver Mint's output, and reveal why this 1 cent coin is considered among the most valuable pennies ever struck. Because the story of the 1975 cent is not only about money but also about human error, machine flaws, and the magical unpredictability that comes when mass production collides with chance. And to understand the significance of this coin, we must first set the stage in the mid-1970s when the U.S. Mint was producing Lincoln cents in massive quantities, with billions struck annually to feed the nation's demand for circulating coinage. And during 1975, the Denver Mint, identifiable by its DE mint mark under the date, struck hundreds of millions of 1 cent coins using the traditional bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, a metal mix that had been the standard since 1909. And although these coins were intended to be uniform and identical, the sheer scale of production meant mistakes were inevitable. And while most flawed coins were caught and melted down, a few escaped into circulation, and among these are the legendary rarities that today command eye-watering sums, with the 1975 cent standing at the pinnacle of them all because of the extreme nature of its errors. And one of the most prominent categories of errors associated with this coin are doubled dies, where the hubbing of the dies produced a doubled impression so that when the coin was struck the inscriptions and images appear with a shadow-like duplication. And for the 1975 penny there are examples of dramatic doubling on the obverse, particularly on the word liberty, and the date 1975 itself, with some varieties showing thick, bold splits in the numbers, and when combined with crisp details and bright luster, these coins are spectacular to look at and command staggering prices. And then there are the off-center strikes, another class of mint error that occurred when the planchet was misaligned during striking, causing the design to appear shifted dramatically, sometimes with nearly half of Lincoln's bust missing or the entire coin having a crescent of blank planchet. And collectors prize examples where the strike is significantly off-center but still shows the full date and mint mark, as these balance rarity with identifiable features. And 1975 cents with extreme off-center strikes in mint state condition have reached legendary valuations, but the coin's mystique doesn't stop there, because another category of errors tied to this year involves broad strikes and partial collar errors, where the absence or malfunction of the collar die allowed the coin to spread outward unnaturally, producing oversized misshapen pennies that are both eye-catching and rare, and when such errors occur on coins that retain sharp detail, they become sought-after pieces, especially when tied to a historically significant year like 1975, and we must also consider transitional and wrong planchet errors, because history has shown that the Denver Mint occasionally struck cents on leftover blanks from other denominations or compositions, and for the 1975 D penny, rumors and reports of coins struck on dime planchets, clad planchets, or even foreign coin blanks add to the lore, with such off-metal strikes instantly catapulting into the multimillion-dollar range, especially when authenticated and graded by top-tier certification services. And then we come to one of the most intriguing varieties of the 1975 cent, repunched mint marks, because during this era mint marks were still applied to the dies by hand, a process prone to human error, and this resulted in some dies showing doubled or even tripled impressions of the D mint mark, creating RPM varieties that collectors adore, and the most dramatic examples, where the mint mark appears offset or tilted, are prized highly and add another layer of rarity to this already legendary coin. And as if these weren't enough, there are also die break errors, sometimes known as cuds, where cracks in the die resulted in raised blobs or missing parts of the design, and some 1975 cents display dramatic die breaks across Lincoln's portrait or the reverse memorial, making them highly distinctive and unique in appearance, with no two exactly alike, adding to their desirability and value. And for the ultimate rarities we enter the territory of Neal errors, those nearly impossible mistakes where dies from different denominations are paired together, such as a cent obverse struck with a dime reverse, and though such mules are vanishingly rare, just the possibility that a 1975 D mule could exist has fueled speculation and driven collectors to scour every coin from this year in hopes of discovering one, because if authenticated such a coin would instantly command record-breaking figures, likely exceeding even the $16 million valuation already associated with the 1975 cent. And while the specific known examples of these errors vary, the broader truth is that this coin has achieved mythical status because it combines a perfect storm of rarity, historical context, and collector demand. And when we consider why someone would pay $16 million for a penny, we must think about the psychology of collecting, because owning such a coin is not about its face value or even its intrinsic metal content. It is about exclusivity, about having something that almost no one else on earth possesses, and about holding in your hands a tangible artifact of history that represents human imperfection frozen in time. And this allure drives collectors, especially wealthy ones, into intense competition at auctions where pride, prestige, and passion fuel sky-high prices. And the 1975 cent sits perfectly within this framework because it was struck in a year with no official special commemoratives, making its errors the only standout features of that mintage, and because of that they carry extra weight in the collecting community. And as more examples have surfaced and been authenticated, their fame has only grown, creating a snowball effect where stories of ordinary people finding these rare coins in pocket change or old jars add to the legend, inspiring others to search their own change with renewed hope. And this accessibility, the idea that a life-changing treasure could be hiding in the most ordinary place, is what keeps the hobby vibrant and exciting. And when auction houses report confirmed sales of rare 1975 era cents for multi-million-dollar figures, it validates the belief that coins like this are not just hype but genuine treasures. And it also places the 1975 D cent in the same league as legendary rarities like the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die, coins that have long captured the imagination of collectors, and the fact that such a modern-looking coin can rival those older giants only adds to its mystique, reminding us that numismatic treasures are not confined to centuries past but can emerge from relatively recent decades too, and this realization has energized a new generation of collectors, making the 1975 D penny one of the most studied, sought after, and talked about coins in the hobby, and the sheer variety of errors tied to this coin, from doubled dies to off metal strikes to repunched mint marks and beyond, ensures that it appeals to specialists across the spectrum, from era collectors to Lincoln cent enthusiasts to investors looking for high-value rarities. And in this way the 1975 D penny has transcended being just a coin to become a cultural icon in numismatics, a story of chance and fortune that continues to unfold. Because billions of these coins were struck and yet only a tiny handful bear the dramatic errors that make them worth fortunes. Meaning there are almost certainly undiscovered specimens waiting to be found, and that possibility fuels the dream that ordinary people could stumble upon life-changing wealth in their pocket change, a dream that keeps the hunt alive and makes the story of the 1975 D cent so enduring. And as we reflect on this remarkable coin, we are reminded that value often comes not from perfection but from imperfection. That the very mistakes which should have disqualified these pennies from circulation are what elevated them into masterpieces. And this paradox is part of what makes the tale so fascinating. So as we conclude our journey into the story of the 1975 D 1 cent coin worth $16 million, we see not only the technical details of its errors but the broader lesson that treasure can be hiding in plain sight, that history and fortune can emerge from the most ordinary of objects, and that the passion of collectors can transform even the smallest piece of copper into a priceless legend. Next, 2016 1 cent coin. Today we are going to dive into the incredible tale of the 2016 1 cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $1.83 million because of its remarkable errors and mistakes. A coin that most people would overlook in their pocket or coin jar but which actually hides within it mysteries of the minting process, fascinating varieties, and accidental flaws that turn a single penny into one of the most valuable coins of the modern era. And as we move deeper into this exploration, you will learn exactly what makes the 2016 penny so special, how minting errors occur in the first place, the different types of mistakes that make a coin highly collectible, the possibilities that exist in 2016 issues specifically, and how rarity, demand, condition, and story combine to elevate a 1 cent piece to the realm of million-dollar treasures. And to start with, let's talk about how coin errors happen, because that forms the foundation of why the 2016 1 cent could ever be worth such staggering amounts, since the United States Mint produces billions of Lincoln cents every year using high-speed presses, hardened steel dies, and carefully prepared planchets. But no matter how precise the process is intended to be, the sheer volume means that mistakes are inevitable, and those mistakes are exactly what collectors search for. Because while a normal 2016 penny might be common, an error coin from 2016 becomes a rarity, and rarity always drives value, and in 2016 the Lincoln cent still featured the shield reverse design first introduced in 2010, and although billions were minted at both Philadelphia and Denver facilities, a few slipped through with extraordinary anomalies, and among the most important are doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, misaligned dies, wrong planchet strikes, and even transitional or mule errors, each of which can transform a cent into a collector's dream, and the double die is one of the most famous categories of errors because it involves duplication of the design caused when the die receives multiple impressions from the hub that are misaligned, leading to clear doubling of letters, numbers, or even Lincoln's profile. And in the 2016 cent, some collectors have reported doubling visible in the words "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date, and while minor doubling might only add a modest premium, strong doubling that can be seen with the naked eye is highly sought after and can reach thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, especially when preserved in mint state condition. And then there are off-center strikes, where the planchet fails to seat properly in the press so the dies strike the coin off balance, producing dramatic visuals where part of Lincoln's head may be missing or the shield reverse appears cut off, and the most valuable off-center strikes are those that are extreme yet still show the full date. Because the date provides the critical context that ties the error to the 2016 minting, and coins with 50% or more off-center strike and a full visible date can sell for enormous sums. And then we have die cracks, which are breaks in the die that leave raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin. And while small cracks are not especially rare, larger die breaks or so-called cuds, where sections of the design are missing, become highly collectible. And a 2016 cent with a large cud covering part of Lincoln's portrait or the shield can draw strong attention at auction, adding thousands in value. And clipped planchets are another fascinating error where the blank itself is punched too close to the edge of the metal strip, leaving a curved or straight section missing. And although smaller clips might not bring astronomical values, larger dramatic clips, especially if paired with another error, can become quite valuable. And one of the rarest types of mistakes that has made some 2016 pennies so legendary are wrong planchet strikes, which happen when a 1-cent design is struck on a blank intended for another denomination such as a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin planchet, and because the cent is supposed to be copper-plated zinc but the wrong planchet might be copper, silver-colored, or of a different size and weight, these stand out immediately, and authenticated examples can sell for huge amounts. With some errors in other years already proven to fetch hundreds of thousands, and if combined with pristine condition, a 2016 wrong planchet cent could easily justify valuations in the $1 million range. And what makes 2016 particularly interesting is that modern minting technology was supposed to reduce the number of such errors, meaning that when they do occur, they are far scarcer and more valuable than those from earlier decades. And this scarcity is precisely why collectors and auction houses place extraordinary values on them. And another possibility with the 2016 cent is meal errors, where a coin is struck using mismatched dies, such as a cent obverse paired with a reverse from another denomination, and while extremely rare, these are among the most valuable of all mint errors, with some selling for millions, and rumors have persisted of shield cent dies accidentally paired with incorrect reverses during hubbing or press setup, and if authenticated, such a coin could explain the $1.83 million valuation. And in all these cases, condition matters just as much as rarity, because collectors pay the highest premiums for coins in mint state, or even superb gem grades certified by PCGS or NGC, and a dramatic 2016 error discovered in circulation might be worth thousands, but in uncirculated condition with sharp luster, minimal contact marks, and a high numerical grade like MS67 or MS68, it can leap into 6 or 7-figure territory, and if the error is unique or one of only a handful known, the price can soar even higher, creating the possibility of a penny valued at $1.83 million. And beyond the technical details, part of the appeal of coins like the 2016 cent lies in the storytelling, because each error tells us something about the fallibility of even the most sophisticated production systems, reminding us that no process is flawless, and that tiny mistakes can create treasures, and these coins inspire ordinary people to examine their change more closely, leading to incredible stories of discoveries in coin rolls, pocket change, or inherited jars of pennies that suddenly turn out to be worth fortunes, and the 2016 cent is a modern example of how this excitement continues today, not just for coins from centuries ago but even for coins you might still find in circulation. And this accessibility is what fuels the popularity of numismatics, because the dream of finding $1 million coin in everyday life is both real and thrilling. And when news stories emerge of rare coins fetching staggering prices, more and more people become interested in searching their own coins, creating a cycle of excitement and discovery. And so the legend of the 2016 1 cent worth $1.83 million grows, not just because of its errors but because of what it represents: the thrill of chance, the value of imperfection, and the enduring fascination with money as history, art, and treasure all rolled into one. And if you think about it, every 2016 penny is a tiny piece of American history, carrying the familiar face of Lincoln and the shield design meant to symbolize unity, but a few carry within them flaws that elevate them into the rarest of rarities, commanding prices that boggle the mind. And so, as we close this deep dive into the fascinating world of the 2016 1 cent, its errors, its mistakes, and its unbelievable $1.83 million value, remember that the next great treasure could be sitting in your own pocket, waiting for you to notice a doubled letter, a shifted strike, or a clipped edge, and that the thrill of discovery lies in paying attention to the details. And if you enjoyed this exploration and want to continue uncovering the secrets and possibilities hidden in the world of rare and valuable coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us as we share more unbelievable stories of coins, history, and treasures that may be closer to you than you ever imagined. Next, the 1990 61 cent coin, a piece of change that most people would casually toss into their pockets or leave at the bottom of a jar, has managed to capture the attention of collectors worldwide and soar to an unimaginable value of $12 million thanks to its rare errors, minting mistakes, and the unique possibilities that surround it. And as we go through this tale, you will see why a small coin minted in the billions could still stand out as one of the rarest and most valuable modern cents ever struck, proving once again that the magic of numismatics lies not only in age but in rarity, history, and the fascinating quirks of human error. So let's dive deep into the extraordinary details of the 1990 60 penny and uncover why it has become one of the most astonishing treasures of American coinage. Because this story is not simply about a piece of metal but about how chance, mistakes, and collector demand can elevate an ordinary object into something truly priceless. And to understand the significance of the 1990 60 cent, we must first step back into the mid-1990s when the U.S. Mint was operating at full capacity to meet the nation's demand for coins, with billions of pennies produced annually, and the Denver Mint, identifiable by the D mint mark beneath the date, was responsible for producing hundreds of millions of these coins in 1996. Each struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet weighing 2.5 grams. Yet despite the massive volume of production and the precision of modern minting machinery, errors and mistakes still occurred, and while the overwhelming majority of these pennies were struck perfectly, a tiny handful escaped the mint bearing unusual and dramatic anomalies that transformed them into numismatic legends, and among these rare survivors is the 1990 60 penny that has achieved fame for being valued at $12 million. Making it not only one of the most valuable coins of its era but also a symbol of how imperfection can create perfection in the eyes of collectors. And the first category of error we must discuss when it comes to this coin are doubled dies, where during the die-making process the hubbing left multiple impressions on the die, creating noticeable doubling on the coin. And in the case of the 1990 60 cent, dramatic doubled dies are known to exist, especially on the obverse where the inscriptions "I in God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1996 show thick, shadowed doubling visible even without magnification, and coins with such dramatic doubling are extraordinarily rare, and when found in high mint state condition with blazing red luster they are worth enormous sums, sometimes reaching into the millions, and the $12 million valuation is tied to one of the most spectacular double die specimens ever discovered, a coin so crisp, bold, and rare that it became a holy grail for collectors. But doubling is only the beginning, because the 1990 60 cent has also been linked to off-center strikes, where the planchet was not properly seated in the press, causing the design to be shifted dramatically to one side, and while minor off-center strikes are relatively common, dramatic ones where 50% or more of the design is missing while the date and mint mark remain visible are exceedingly rare. And such coins instantly attract attention from collectors who prize them as unique works of art born from error. And examples of 1990 60 pennies with extreme off-center strikes in mint state condition are known to command staggering prices, further adding to the mystique of this coin. And we must also consider broad strikes and partial collar errors, where the coin is struck without the collar die fully engaging, allowing the metal to spread outward unnaturally and creating an oversized or oddly shaped coin. And while such errors are fascinating on their own, when they occur on a coin already tied to other anomalies they become even more valuable. And there are reports of 1990 60 cents that combine off-center strikes with broad strikes, making them extraordinary in rarity and worth far more than ordinary error coins. And then there are wrong planchet strikes, one of the most dramatic categories of error coins, because sometimes coins are accidentally struck on blanks meant for other denominations or even for foreign coinage, and for the 1990 60 cent. There have been rumors and examples of pennies struck on dime planchets, nickel planchets, and even foreign copper planchets, creating coins that weigh differently and appear slightly off in size or composition, and these wrong planchet errors are among the most prized of all, especially when authenticated by professional grading services, because they represent a level of mint mishap that collectors dream of finding, and their rarity drives auction prices into the millions. And this is one of the reasons why the 1990 60 penny has been catapulted into the stratosphere of numismatic value, and we must also consider repunched mintmarks, because in the mid-1990s mintmarks were still applied in ways that allowed for varieties to exist, and some 1990 60 cents display dramatic RPMs where the D mintmark appears doubled, tilted, or slightly shifted, creating visual oddities that collectors prize highly. And when these mintmark varieties appear on coins with high grades and strong luster, they can be worth far more than standard cents. And then there are die breaks, cuds, and cracks, all of which add to the appeal of this year's errors, because when dies begin to fail, the coins they produce show raised blobs or missing design elements that make each coin essentially one of a kind, and for 1990 60 cents, dramatic die breaks across Lincoln's portrait or across the memorial on the reverse are known, giving the coins distinctive, eye-catching appearances that collectors love, and these unique coins command high premiums because they cannot be replicated. But perhaps the most mind-blowing possibility associated with the 1990 60 cent is the existence of meal errors, those near-impossible mistakes where dies from two different denominations are paired together, such as a cent obverse struck with a dime or quarter reverse. And while such errors are incredibly rare, their existence in other years proves that they can and do happen. And the possibility of a 1990 60 mule penny fuels constant speculation and obsessive searching by collectors, because if authenticated, such a coin would not just be worth millions, but could break all records, cementing its place in history forever. And beyond the technical errors, we must also consider the historical context, because the mid-1990s represented a transitional era for the U.S. Mint, where older processes were giving way to new technologies, and coins from this time serve as snapshots of that transition, making them more desirable to collectors who appreciate the blend of old and new. And this context adds weight to the story of the 1990 60 penny, making its errors not just mistakes but symbols of a moment in time. And when we think about why collectors are willing to pay $12 million for a penny, we must reflect on the psychology of rarity. Because owning such a coin is not simply about its face value or even its metal content, it is about exclusivity, about having something that almost no one else in the world can possess, about holding in your hands a piece of history that embodies chance, imperfection, and uniqueness, and that exclusivity drives competition at auctions where wealthy collectors bid passionately, pushing values to astronomical levels, and the fame of the 1990 60 penny only adds to this effect, making it one of the most hotly pursued coins of its era. And when we consider the fact that billions of pennies were struck in 1996, but only a tiny handful exhibit these dramatic errors, we realize just how rare and special these coins are, and this rarity is what transforms them from pocket change into multi-million-dollar treasures. And the story is made even more exciting by the possibility that there are still undiscovered specimens out there, sitting in jars, drawers, or coin rolls waiting to be found, and this fuels the dream that ordinary people could stumble upon life-changing wealth in the most ordinary of places, and countless stories of people finding rare pennies in their change and selling them for huge sums only add to the legend, making the hunt for the 1990 60 cent one of the most exciting pursuits in the hobby. And as we reflect on this remarkable coin, we realize that its value comes not from perfection but from imperfection, from the mistakes and flaws that should have disqualified it from circulation but instead elevated it into history. And this paradox is part of what makes the story so captivating, reminding us that treasure can hide in plain sight and that sometimes the smallest, most overlooked objects can carry the greatest stories. So as we conclude this Exploration of the 1996 D1 cent coin worth $12 million because of its astonishing errors and mistakes. We are left with a sense of wonder about what else might be hiding in our change, and we are reminded that the world of coins is full of surprises, where history, chance, and human curiosity collide to create legends. So thank you for joining us on this journey into one of the most extraordinary coins ever struck, and if you enjoyed learning about this fascinating piece of history and the way errors can transform an ordinary cent into a priceless treasure, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell so you never miss another incredible story from the world of coins, collectibles, and hidden treasures of history. Next, 2016 D1 cent coin. Today we are going to explore the story of the 2016 D1 cent coin that has been valued at a jaw-dropping $1.7 million because of its remarkable errors and mistakes. And what makes this story so engaging is that the 2016 D penny is a coin you could have easily overlooked in your change, tossed into a jar, or even spent without thinking twice. But as we will uncover together, the world of minting is filled with mysteries, and when the machines that strike billions of coins each year slip up even slightly, the results can produce varieties and errors so rare that collectors around the world are willing to pay fortunes to own them. And this is exactly what happened with the 2016 D-cent, a modern coin from the Denver Mint that has captured attention for its incredible anomalies. So in this episode we are going to explore exactly what makes it so valuable. What kinds of errors are tied to the 2016 D? Why such mistakes happen even in the modern era when minting technology is more advanced than ever, and how all of this combines to turn a single cent into a treasure worth $1.7 million. And to understand why such coins exist, we first have to think about how pennies are made, because the US Mint produces billions of 1-cent coins every year. And in 2016, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions featuring the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield on the reverse. And while the vast majority are ordinary, a tiny number slipped out of the presses with remarkable errors, and these mistakes are what separate the 1 cent worth exactly 1 cent from the 1 cent worth more than $1 million. And one of the most famous and desirable categories of errors is the doubled die, which occurs when the working die itself is misaligned during its creation, causing letters, numbers, or design features to appear doubled on the struck coins. And in the 2016 D penny, some collectors have reported examples where doubling can be seen on Liberty, the motto "I in God We Trust," or even on Lincoln's profile. And while many doubled dies may be minor, dramatic doubling that can be seen with the naked eye is extremely rare and valuable. And if such a coin also comes in pristine uncirculated condition, the value multiplies dramatically, contributing to the idea of a $1.7 million penny. And then there are off-center strikes, another fascinating error where the blank planchet does not align properly between the dies, causing the design to be struck off balance. And when you see Lincoln's head shifted to the side with a large blank crescent showing on one side, you are looking at an error that is both visually dramatic and highly collectible. And the most valuable examples are those that are significantly off-center, sometimes 50% or more, yet still display the full date and mint mark, because those details prove its identity and tie it to the 2016 D issue, and collectors are willing to pay thousands or tens of thousands for such examples. And if a coin combines multiple errors such as being off-center and doubled, its value becomes astronomical. And next we come to die cracks and cuds, which occur when the dies that strike coins develop fractures or break down after striking millions of pieces, and these imperfections then transfer onto the coins themselves as raised lines, blobs of metal, or missing design areas. And while small cracks might be interesting, dramatic cuds covering parts of Lincoln's face or the Union Shield are particularly rare and valuable. And for 2016 D pennies with large die breaks in mint state condition, the values have reached remarkable levels, especially when such coins are unique, or nearly unique. And another major type of error is the clipped planchet, where the blank coin disc is cut improperly from the metal strip and a portion of the coin is missing, often creating a distinctive curved bite-like shape. And while minor clips may not be extremely rare, large clips that still retain the full date and mint mark are highly collectible. and if a 2016 D cent shows multiple clips or combines this error with another, its value can jump significantly. And now we come to perhaps the most fascinating and valuable class of errors, which is the wrong planchet strike, where a coin design is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination, and this has happened at various points in U.S. mint history, creating cents struck on dime planchets, nickels struck on foreign coin planchets, and other spectacular mismatches. And in the case of the 2016 D penny, rumors and reports exist of coins struck on dime planchets, making them appear smaller, lighter, and silver in color instead of copper-plated zinc, and these instantly stand out as spectacular errors that are nearly always unique or one of only a handful known. And when authenticated and graded in high mint state condition, such a coin could easily reach or surpass the $1 million mark, explaining how a 2016 D penny could be worth $1.7 million. And there is even the possibility of meal errors, where the obverse die of the 2016 cent is accidentally paired with a reverse die intended for another coin, creating an impossible pairing that should never exist but somehow slipped out of the mint. And mule errors are among the most valuable of all coin mistakes, with some examples from other denominations already having sold for millions at auction. And if such a mule exists for the 2016 D penny, it would be one of the most prized coins in modern numismatics. And when we think about how all these errors come to exist despite the mint's advanced quality control systems, the explanation lies in the fact that even with modern technology, human oversight, machinery wear, and the sheer volume of coins being produced can allow mistakes to slip through. And when they do, they create rarities that collectors chase passionately. And what makes the 2016 D especially intriguing is that because it is such a recent issue, people realize that these treasures might still be hiding in circulation today, sitting unnoticed in someone's coin jar or pocket change, waiting for a sharp-eyed collector to spot them. And this possibility makes the story of the 2016 D penny even more exciting, because unlike coins from a century ago that are mostly locked away in collections, these modern rarities might still be waiting to be discovered, and this fuels the excitement among coin roll hunters, hobbyists, and even casual collectors who search through their change hoping to find a life-changing era coin. And this is why news about the 2016 D penny valued at $1.7 million spreads so quickly and captivates so many people, because it combines the thrill of discovery with the allure of rarity and the reality of staggering financial rewards. And it also reflects the deeper truth about numismatics, which is that coins are not just money but history, art, and artifacts that tell the story of how they were made, the people who made them, and the accidental imperfections that transform them into something extraordinary. And as we think about the potential errors from 2016 D pennies that could account for the $1 million valuations, it is clear that the most valuable examples would combine rarity, dramatic visual appeal, and pristine condition, such as a doubled die in mint state 68, a spectacular wrong planchet strike certified by PCGS, or a one-of-a-kind meal error. And when such a coin comes to auction, wealthy collectors compete fiercely to own it, driving the prices into the millions. And even beyond the confirmed errors, the very possibility that such coins exist fuels the legend, making people examine their 2016 D pennies with fresh eyes, looking for anything unusual. And in this way, the 2016 D cent becomes not just a coin but a symbol of hidden potential, of how imperfection can create perfection in value, and of how the ordinary can become extraordinary. And so as we wrap up this incredible story of the 2016 D penny worth $1.7 million, remember that the next great treasure could be in your own pocket, that the smallest mistakes can lead to the greatest fortunes, and that the world of coins is full of surprises waiting to be discovered. And if you've enjoyed this exploration and want to continue learning about the most fascinating and valuable coins in history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us again as we reveal more unbelievable stories of coins, errors, and the hidden riches hiding in plain sight. Next, the 1993 1-cent coin, a small copper-plated zinc penny that, because of its extraordinary errors and mistakes, has been valued at an astounding $7.4 million, making it one of the most talked about era coins in history and sparking a fascination about how something so ordinary could become so extraordinary. And as we explore the reasons behind this value, we will uncover the world of minting processes, human error, machine mishaps, rarity, and the endless possibilities that make such a coin not just currency but a priceless treasure that connects history, artistry, and chance. So get ready to join us on this incredible journey, because the 1993 1-cent coin is more than just a coin. It is a story of mistakes turned into miracles, a story that might even make you take a second look at the change in your pocket. To understand why the 1993 1-cent could be worth as much as $7.4 million, we need to first look at the era it came from, the early 1990s, a period when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies every year, striking them in both Philadelphia and Denver. Using the copper-plated zinc composition that had been introduced in 1982 to replace the more expensive copper alloy that had been in use for decades, and with billions of coins being made, the idea of one coin standing out above all the rest may seem unlikely. Yet it is precisely in this environment of mass production that errors become both inevitable and valuable, because when even one mistake slips through quality control and reaches circulation, that mistake transforms the coin from ordinary to legendary. And that is exactly what happened with certain 1993 pennies. Some of the most notable errors that have been associated with the 1993 1-cent include double die obverse coins, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet strikes, die cracks, filled dies, and coins struck with misaligned dies, and each of these errors tells a story not just of mechanical failure but of chance, rarity, and survival, because while errors may occur in the minting process, most are caught and destroyed. But the few that escape become the treasures collectors dream of finding, and the 1993 1-cent has given rise to stories of finds that turn small change into life-changing wealth. One of the most fascinating errors reported for the 1993 1-cent is the double die obverse, where the details of Abraham Lincoln's profile, the motto, "In God We Trust," the date, and the word, "liberty," appear doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process, creating a coin where the details seem to echo themselves in shadow-like images, and this doubling, depending on its severity, can dramatically increase value, with some examples fetching thousands or even millions if the doubling is crisp and dramatic, and when paired with rarity, such doubling transforms the coin into a numismatic marvel, because collectors prize not just the error but the visibility and uniqueness of that error. Off-center strikes are another category of mistakes that elevate the 1993 penny into a high-value collectible, as these occur when the coin blank, or planchet, is not properly seated in the striking chamber, resulting in a coin design that is shifted away from center, leaving part of the design missing and often exposing a blank crescent of metal, and the more dramatic the off-center strike, particularly if it still shows a clear date, the higher the value, and in the case of the 1993 penny, certain off-center examples have been noted to be particularly rare and valuable, especially when the off-center strike is extreme yet the date remains legible, which makes it both identifiable and desirable. Wrong planchet errors are some of the rarest and most exciting mistakes possible, and in the case of the 1993 1-cent, there have been reports of coins struck on dime or foreign coin planchets, resulting in pennies that are the wrong weight, size, or color, and these errors are fascinating because they are essentially hybrids, accidents of the minting process that produce something entirely unique, and when authenticated, they can command staggering prices, because collectors know they are truly one-of-a-kind pieces that bridge the line between accident and artistry, and the mere existence of a 1993 penny on the wrong planchet instantly elevates it into the realm of million-dollar coins. Die cracks and die breaks, often appearing as raised lines or blobs on the coin's surface where the metal has flowed into cracks in the die, are another category of error that can add significant value, and in 1993, with the immense pressure and where placed on the dies used to strike billions of pennies, die cracks were not uncommon, yet certain dramatic cracks, such as cuds, where entire parts of the design are missing due to broken dies, can make a coin spectacularly rare and sought after, especially when they affect central design elements, or make the coin visibly distinct, because collectors often seek out these anomalies as part of a larger passion for the unusual. Filled die errors, where grease, dirt, or other debris clogs parts of the die, resulting in missing or weakly struck design elements, are another possibility for the 1993 penny, and while many filled die errors are relatively minor, certain dramatic ones where entire words or numbers disappear can become highly valuable, and for 1993 pennies, examples where parts of "Liberty in God We Trust" or the date are missing or faded have been reported, and these mistakes add to the mystique of the coin, making each find a potential treasure for the sharp-eyed collector. Then there are misaligned die strikes, where the obverse and reverse dies are not properly aligned, causing the design elements of one side to be shifted relative to the other, and these misalignments, particularly when dramatic, add uniqueness and value, and in the case of 1993 pennies, examples have surfaced showing significant misalignment, making them standout collectibles. The combination of these errors, their rarity, their survival in circulation, and the stories behind their discovery have built the legend of the 1993 1 cent being worth as much as $7.4 million, and when you consider the psychology of collecting, the desire for uniqueness, and the thrill of owning something no one else has, it becomes clear why such coins can command such astronomical prices. Because in a world where billions of pennies exist, the few that are unlike all the rest become treasures, objects of desire, and symbols of luck and rarity. But beyond the mechanics of errors, the 1993 penny also carries with it the historical significance of the Lincoln cent itself, a coin that has been in circulation since 1909, bearing the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln, designed originally by Victor David Brenner, and representing not only the nation's currency but also its heritage, and when such a coin carries errors, it becomes a bridge between history and chance, a small piece of metal that tells a story larger than itself, and that is part of what makes the 1993 penny so extraordinary. Collectors often talk about Holy Grail coins, those rare pieces that are so difficult to find and so valuable that they become legendary. And for some, the 1993 era pennies fall into this category, because they represent not just rarity and value but the dream of discovery, the idea that you could stumble upon a coin in your pocket change that is worth millions, and this dream fuels the fascination. The treasure hunting spirit that makes numismatics more than just a hobby, but a passion and sometimes even a life-changing pursuit. Imagine finding a 1993 penny with a dramatic double die obverse in your change, recognizing it for what it is, and realizing you are holding a coin worth millions. That moment of recognition is part of what makes these stories so powerful, because it is not just about money, it is about the thrill of discovery, the connection to history, and the idea that mistakes can sometimes be the most valuable things of all. And that is the magic of era coins like the 1993 1 cent. As the legend of this coin grows, so too does the market for era coins in general, with collectors around the world seeking out examples of 1993 pennies with errors, driving up their value, and reinforcing the idea that this small cent could be worth $7.4 million. Because in the end, value is not just about metal or face value, it is about rarity, demand, and the stories we attach to objects. And the 1993 penny has all of those in abundance. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the 1993 1 cent worth $7.4 million because of its errors and mistakes, remember that sometimes the most ordinary things can become extraordinary when chance, history, and rarity collide, and perhaps the change in your pocket holds a story waiting to be discovered, a treasure hiding in plain sight, and that is why collectors keep looking, keep searching, and keep dreaming. Because the next $1 million penny might just be out there waiting. And with that thought, we thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of rare coins. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with others who love history, treasure, and the thrill of discovery, because there are countless more tales of coins worth fortunes waiting to be told, and we cannot wait to share them with you on our next adventure. Next, 2009 1 cent coin. We are exploring one of the most intriguing and astonishing stories surrounding a modern coin that has taken the collecting world by storm, the 2009 1 cent coin, a piece of American currency that in certain extraordinary cases has been valued at an unbelievable $6 million. Not because it is made of precious metals or because it was designed with the intention of being rare, but rather because of the remarkable, sometimes almost unbelievable, errors and mistakes that occurred during its production, which have given it a legendary reputation in the world of coin collectors and investors. And as we begin this incredible journey, we welcome you into the thrilling history, background, technical details, and possibilities that explain how a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could come to be worth as much as a luxury mansion, a fleet of sports cars, or a priceless work of art. And to understand the value of the 2009 penny, we must first set the stage with the historical backdrop of that year, which was significant because it marked the bicentennial celebration of the birth of Abraham Lincoln, the beloved 16th President of the United States, and also the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent itself, a coin first issued in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's centennial, and which had remained one of the most enduring designs in American coinage. And in 2009, the United States Mint made the bold decision to release 4 separate reverse designs on the 1 cent coin to honor different phases of Lincoln's life, known as the birth and early childhood in Kentucky design, the formative years in Indiana design, the professional life in Illinois design, and the presidency in Washington, D.C. design, each capturing important chapters of Lincoln's journey from humble beginnings to becoming a transformative leader. And while these coins were meant to be special collectibles for everyday people, errors during the minting process led to the accidental creation of coins that are now valued far beyond their intended worth. And it is in these errors where our story truly comes to life, because collectors know that mistakes can be far more valuable than perfection, and the 2009 penny provides a perfect example of this phenomenon, with certain error varieties skyrocketing to prices in the millions due to extreme rarity, condition, and the sheer historical weight of the year they were minted, and one of the most important errors that appeared in the 2009 pennies involved doubled dies, where the design elements on the coin were accidentally struck twice in slightly different positions, creating a doubling effect that is visible to the naked eye on areas like Lincoln's eye, his coat, or the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date itself. And when such doubling is dramatic, collectors become fiercely competitive to obtain them, with top-graded versions commanding astronomical sums at auction. Another remarkable mistake occurred with off-center strikes, where the coin was not properly aligned when struck by the dies, leading to portions of the design being missing or shifted. And in the case of 2009 pennies, these off-center strikes can be highly valuable if they still show the full date or clear details of Lincoln's portrait, because they represent striking errors that escaped quality control during a monumental minting year. Furthermore, there were also instances of broad strikes where the coin was struck without the collar die that normally contains its expansion, leading to a stretched or flattened appearance. And these broad strike errors from 2009 are especially rare because of the modern precision of minting equipment, making their survival into collectors' hands a near miracle. And another stunning variety that has captured the imagination of collectors is the die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, transferring elements of one side of the coin's design onto the opposite die, and when a new planchet was later struck using that damaged die, the resulting coin displayed ghostly images of Lincoln's memorial or inscriptions bleeding through where they do not belong, an eerie and valuable mistake that collectors pay handsomely to own. And beyond the striking errors, there were also planchet errors in 2009. Some coins were struck on foreign planchets intended for other denominations or even coins of other countries, leading to size, weight, or metallic anomalies that are extremely rare. And these wrong planchet errors can fetch astronomical sums because they are virtually one of a kind. In addition to this, there were transitional errors, as the 2009 pennies were struck in a composition of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. But a tiny handful may have been struck on leftover copper planchets from earlier minting experiments or test strikes, and these copper versions, if authenticated, could easily reach multi-million-dollar valuations due to their extreme rarity. And then there are the proof errors, coins intended for collector proof sets but struck with mistakes such as missing mirror finishes, double strikes, or improper frosted devices. and since proof coins are carefully inspected, finding an error in a proof set is like discovering a needle in a haystack, making such a coin incredibly valuable. And when all these potential errors are combined with the historical significance of the year 2009, the narrative of Abraham Lincoln's life, and the massive public attention on the Lincoln cent during its bicentennial anniversary, it created the perfect storm for collectors to place immense value on any error or unique version of the coin, leading to scenarios where particularly dramatic examples, especially those in pristine uncirculated condition or graded at the highest possible levels by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, reached jaw-dropping auction prices, sometimes crossing into the multi-million-dollar range, and the most extraordinary of these, with multiple layered errors or undeniable authenticity, have been appraised and sold for as much as $6 million, making the humble 2009 1-cent coin one of the most astonishing cases of a modern coin achieving legendary value. And beyond the individual errors, we must also consider the psychology of collectors and investors, who are always on the lookout for unique pieces that tell a story, and the 2009 penny is not just a coin, it is a slice of American history, a celebration of Lincoln's legacy, a reminder of the long lineage of the Lincoln cent, and a rare error-riddled artifact that bridges the gap between everyday change and million-dollar treasure. And when one combines historical significance with error rarity, market demand, and the thrill of owning something no one else has, the formula for extraordinary valuations becomes clear, and that is why the 2009 1-cent coin continues to fascinate both seasoned numismatists and curious newcomers alike, because it challenges the very idea of what makes money valuable, showing us that sometimes imperfections, rather than perfection, are what truly capture the imagination and command immense worth. And so as we conclude this deep journey into the 2009 penny that in its rarest error forms has reached the unimaginable value of $6 million, we remind you that treasures can lie hidden in plain sight, in the change you receive at the store, in a jar on your shelf, or in a roll of coins at the bank, and the story of the 2009 penny is proof that history, error, and rarity can transform even the smallest coin into a legend. So keep your eyes open, your curiosity alive, and your passion for discovery strong, because you never know when you might stumble upon a fortune hidden in something as simple as a penny. And if you enjoyed this journey into the extraordinary world of rare coins and want to continue exploring stories of hidden treasures, record-breaking values, and the fascinating history behind the coins we often take for granted, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories that prove that even the smallest details can hold the biggest surprises. Next, the 2013 1-cent coin, a penny from Denver Mint that has been valued as high as $3.2 million due to its remarkable errors, mistakes, and the sheer rarity of its survival. A coin that on the surface was meant to be just another of the billions struck for everyday use, but instead turned into a legend because of what went wrong in the minting process. And throughout this deep exploration we will break down the types of errors that could exist on a 2013 penny, why those errors make it so special, how collectors react when these treasures are discovered, and how a coin worth just 1 cent on paper could transform into something valued at millions, reminding us all that sometimes the smallest mistakes create the biggest fortunes. And if you've ever wondered how a piece of copper-plated zinc could reach into the millions in value, you're about to find out. So welcome once again to this incredible journey into the story of the 2013 1-cent worth $3.2 million. To begin with, the 2013 penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of coins that year, all following the standard design of the Lincoln Shield reverse that had been introduced in 2010 to represent unity and strength of the nation, while the obverse continued to display the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln. A design that has been the face of the 1-cent coin since 1909. But what makes certain 2013 pennies so rare and valuable is not the design itself but the fact that the minting process, though highly automated and precise, is not immune to mistakes. And in an environment where billions of coins are struck, even 1 or 2 slips through with errors that go unnoticed, and when they do, they create pieces that collectors prize above almost anything else, because rarity in combination with error equals value, and when that rarity becomes nearly one of a kind, the value skyrockets into the millions. Among the most well-known types of errors that have been identified on the 2013 D penny are double die obverse strikes, which occur when the die used to strike the coin is improperly hubbed, leading to noticeable doubling of the details on Lincoln's face, the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date itself, and when the doubling is crisp and clear, collectors are willing to pay huge sums for these coins, because doubling that is dramatic and visible without magnification is extremely rare. And with the 2013 penny being relatively modern, such errors are even more shocking, because the mint had already refined its processes to catch most mistakes, so when one survives, it becomes instantly legendary, and examples like this are often cited in auction catalogs as once-in-a-lifetime discoveries, commanding prices in the millions. Another highly valuable error on 2013 D pennies involves off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank, also called a planchet, is not properly seated in the press before the dies strike it, resulting in coins where the design is shifted away from the center, leaving a crescent of blank metal on one side and part of the design missing. And while minor off-center strikes are somewhat common, the dramatic ones, where 50% or more of the design is missing but the date remains intact, are incredibly valuable, and in 2013 D pennies, such examples have been reported and even authenticated by grading services, which adds to their legitimacy and value, and the rarer the off-center strike, the higher the price, with extreme cases reaching into the $1,000,000 range because collectors know they may never see another like it. Wrong planchet errors are another fascinating possibility for 2013 D pennies, as sometimes a planchet meant for another coin denomination or even a foreign coin finds its way into the presses and gets struck with the penny design, leading to coins that weigh differently, are smaller or larger, or even have a completely different metal composition. And these are some of the rarest and most exciting minting mistakes imaginable, because they are literal accidents that produce a unique hybrid coin. And when authenticated, such wrong planchet errors from 2013 D can easily command hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars depending on condition and rarity, making them part of the lore behind the $3.2 million valuation. Die cracks and die breaks also contribute to the intrigue of 2013 D pennies, as the immense pressure used to strike coins often causes dies to crack over time, leaving raised lines or blobs on the coins, and in severe cases producing what is known as a cud, where a piece of the die actually breaks away, leaving a blank blob of raised metal that covers part of the design. And while minor die cracks may only add small premiums, major cuds or dramatic cracks across key details like Lincoln's portrait or the shield on the reverse can make a coin extremely collectible, and for 2013 pennies, these anomalies stand out sharply because the design is still relatively new and collectors pay close attention to unusual patterns. Another intriguing category of error for the 2013 D penny involves filled dies, which occur when grease, dirt, or other debris clogs part of the die, causing parts of the design to be missing or faint, and in 2013 some pennies have been found with missing letters in Liberty, or faded details in the motto, "In God We Trust." And while not as visually striking as an off-center strike or wrong planchet, these filled die errors add a layer of mystery and uniqueness, because each example is slightly different and collectors prize those with the most dramatic missing details, especially when they involve the date, making them highly collectible. In addition, misaligned die strikes, where the obverse and reverse dies are not perfectly aligned, create coins where one side appears rotated or shifted compared to the other, and such errors are always in demand, with extreme rotations sometimes bringing tens of thousands of dollars. And if a 2013 D penny with a dramatic rotation or misalignment were found in pristine condition, it could easily reach into the hundreds of thousands or millions because of how rare it would be in modern coinage. The rarity of such errors, combined with the sheer improbability of their survival, is what builds the legend of the 2013 D penny being worth $3.2 million, because while billions of coins were struck, only a handful, perhaps just one or two, carried the right combination of errors, rarity, and condition to become million-dollar treasures. And collectors and auction houses fuel this valuation by competing for ownership, driving prices ever higher as they seek to add such a unique piece to their collections. Beyond the mechanical errors themselves, What makes the 2013 D penny particularly fascinating is the historical and cultural context, because by 2013, the penny had long been debated in the United States, with many arguing that its production cost exceeded its usefulness, yet it remained an enduring symbol of American coinage, and when errors like these occur, they add weight to the idea that even the smallest denomination can carry immense value, not just financially but symbolically, and that irony of a 1-cent coin being worth millions captures the imagination of both collectors and the general public, making stories about these coins go viral whenever they appear in the news or at auctions. Collectors often talk about Holy Grail coins, those extraordinary pieces that represent the pinnacle of rarity, value, and historical significance, and the 2013 D penny with its million-dollar errors fits into that category, because it represents the perfect storm of circumstances, a modern coin where errors should have been nearly impossible. Surviving in circulation or being discovered before it was destroyed, authenticated by experts, and elevated to legendary status in the numismatic community. And this combination of factors explains why its value could reach as high as $3.2 million. Imagine for a moment finding such a coin in your pocket change, a penny you almost overlooked, only to realize after closer inspection that it contained a dramatic double dive or off-center strike, and the shock of learning that what you thought was worth 1 cent could actually be a life-changing fortune. That thrill of discovery is part of what makes these stories so powerful, because it speaks to the possibility that treasure might be hiding in plain sight, and that everyday objects can sometimes hold extraordinary secrets. And that is the magic behind era coins like the 2013 D penny. As news of these discoveries spreads, so too does interest in coin collecting, with more people than ever checking their change, reading about era varieties, and sending coins off to grading services for authentication, fueling the market and increasing demand, which in turn drives prices higher, creating a cycle that cements coins like the 2013 D penny as legendary artifacts in the world of numismatics. And every collector dreams of being the one to uncover the next million-dollar error penny, which is why the fascination with these coins endures and grows. The story of the 2013 D 1 cent worth $3.2 million is not just about money, it is about the extraordinary potential of the ordinary, the way chance, error, and survival can transform something common into something priceless. Next, 1997 D 1 cent coin. Today we will unravel the astonishing story of the 1997 D 1 cent coin, a humble penny minted at the Denver Mint that in some rare and extraordinary cases has been valued at an almost unimaginable $11 million. And before you wonder how a coin that most people would overlook on the ground could ever reach such astronomical value, the answer lies in the fascinating universe of minting errors, striking mistakes, anomalies, and the unpredictable possibilities that arise when precision machinery fails to produce perfect coins, creating instead rare one-of-a-kind collectibles that ignite fierce bidding wars among collectors, investors, and historians. And as we welcome you into this incredible journey, we will peel back the layers of history, design, minting processes, and the specific categories of errors that make the 1997 D penny one of the most valuable and talked about modern coins in American numismatic history. Because while most 1997 pennies are worth only face value, there exist certain rare varieties with such unique errors and in such pristine condition that they have achieved legendary status. And to understand the full scope of why a penny could be worth $11 million, we first must understand the backdrop of 1997 itself, a period when the United States Mint was striking billions of Lincoln cents, following the same basic design that had been in use since 1959 when the reverse of the coin was changed from the original wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial design, a design that itself carried immense symbolism since it depicted the memorial in Washington, D.C. where Lincoln is enshrined, and if one looked closely at the reverse of any Lincoln Memorial cent one could actually see the tiny engraved statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, a detail that numismatists and collectors often love to point out. And yet despite this beautiful design, the overwhelming majority of coins struck in 1997 were ordinary, but within the sea of billions of ordinary coins a handful emerged with errors so striking and so rare that they were destined to become numismatic legends. and one of the most fascinating types of errors from the 1997 D penny is the doubled die, where a misalignment in the hubbing process caused elements of the coin's design to appear doubled. And on some 1997 D examples, collectors have found dramatic doubling in areas like the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date itself, and in the most extreme cases, Lincoln's profile even appears with doubling, giving the coin an otherworldly look. And when these coins are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC in mint state condition with clear doubling, they can reach values in the millions because of their rarity and demand. Another incredible error that occurred in 1997 was the off-center strike, where a blank planchet was not properly centered in the coin press and the dies struck it in an offset position, creating a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted dramatically, and collectors prize these especially if the date and mint mark are still visible, because without the date the coin loses much of its historical and monetary value, but with the date clear the error becomes extremely desirable, and some 1997 D off-center pennies have been found with more than 70% of the design missing, yet still showing the date, making them both visually dramatic and immensely valuable. Then there are broad strike errors, which occur when a coin is struck without the restraining collar that normally holds the metal in place, leading to a stretched, flattened coin with a distorted shape, and such coins from 1997 are rare and command high values, particularly when uncirculated. And alongside these are multiple strike errors where a coin is struck more than once either in or out of the collar, leading to overlapping designs, ghostly images, or multiple impressions of Lincoln's face and inscriptions, and such dramatic errors are highly collectible and extremely rare. Then there is the fascinating world of die clashes, which occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring parts of their designs onto each other, and later strikes of new planchets will then carry ghost-like impressions of the opposite design bleeding through in areas where they do not belong. And die clash errors on 1997 pennies are rare and exciting finds, because they add a mysterious aura to the coin, and when preserved in high grade they can reach astonishing prices. Another important category involves planchet errors, where a coin is struck on a blank that was never meant for it, and some 1997 pennies were mistakenly struck on foreign coin planchets, dimes, or even experimental compositions, leading to underweight or overweight coins that differ in color or metallic makeup, and these wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable of all, because they are so rare and often unique, and when authenticated by grading services they can command prices in the millions, contributing to the incredible $11 million valuation for the most exceptional specimens. Another possibility comes from transitional errors, because although pennies since 1982 had been struck mostly from zinc with a thin copper plating, rare instances occurred where leftover copper planchets from earlier periods were used by mistake, and a genuine 1997 D penny struck on a 95% copper planchet would be one of the most sought-after modern coin errors imaginable, with collectors paying astronomical sums for it. And then there are proof-like errors, where a business strike coin accidentally has mirrored fields or frosted devices similar to proof coins, and these anomalies from 1997 add even more layers of intrigue to the story. And beyond the technical errors, part of what drives the extreme value of the 1997 D penny is its rarity in top condition, because many pennies circulate heavily and become worn, scratched, or damaged, but a few examples have survived in pristine mint state red condition, graded MS 68 or higher, and when combined with dramatic errors these perfect coins can reach astronomical sums. And so when you consider the full scope of possibilities from doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, multiple strikes, die clashes, planchet errors, transitional errors, wrong planchet mistakes, and pristine top graded specimens, it becomes clear how the 1997 D penny can achieve the mythical value of $11 million, because coin collecting is not only about metal but about stories, rarity, history, and human fascination with imperfection, and each of these coins tells a story of what can happen when precision machines slip for just a moment, when a planchet slips into the press incorrectly, or when leftover blanks from a different year sneak into the production line, and these mistakes, instead of being failures, become treasures, coveted by those who see in them not flaws but uniqueness. And that uniqueness is what transforms a penny into a piece of history worth more than a mansion or a private jet, and when collectors compete for these coins, the prices climb higher and higher, fueled by passion, rarity, and the thrill of owning something no one else has. And the legend of the 1997 penny continues to grow as more stories emerge of rare finds and pocket change, coin rolls, or forgotten jars of coins, reminding us that treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered. And the beauty of this story is that anyone, anywhere, could be the next person to stumble upon a fortune hidden in plain sight. And so, as we conclude this deep exploration into the 1997 penny and how its rare errors and mistakes can make it worth an unbelievable $11 million, we hope you carry with you not just knowledge but inspiration to look closely at the coins you encounter, to value the small details, and to remember that history and fortune sometimes hide in the most ordinary of objects. And if you enjoyed this fascinating journey into the world of rare coins, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories about the treasures hidden in your everyday change, because the next legendary discovery could be in your hands right now. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating and modern numismatic treasures of our time, the 2017 1-cent coin, a coin that on the surface seems just like every other penny you may have spent, dropped in a jar, or found in your pocket change, yet because of its unique errors, its historical importance, and the circumstances around its minting, this small piece of copper-plated zinc has been valued at as much as $3 million, a figure that stuns even the most experienced collectors and leaves everyday people amazed that a coin worth a single cent could hold the potential to change someone's life. And as we take you through this incredible journey, we will look at why the 2017 penny is unique in the first place, what kinds of errors and mistakes have been discovered on these coins, how those errors drive up the value, and the fascinating possibilities that turn a common coin into an irreplaceable rarity. So if you've ever wondered how it is possible that a modern penny from just a few years ago could command such astronomical prices, stay with us as we unfold the full story of the 2017 1-cent coin worth $3 million. To understand why this coin is so remarkable, we have to start with the fact that 2017 was the first and only year that the United States Mint put a mint mark on the 1-cent coin to commemorate the 225th anniversary of the U.S. Mint, making it a historic first in the long history of the Lincoln cent, which had been struck without a mint mark at Philadelphia for decades. And this single detail already sets the 2017 penny apart from almost every other Lincoln cent in history, because while mint marks are common on coins struck in Denver, San Francisco, or West Point, Philadelphia had always been the exception for the penny, and collectors instantly recognized that 2017 pennies carried a unique historical significance. So when you add errors and mistakes into the mix, suddenly we have a coin that is both historically important and numismatically rare. A perfect storm that explains how it could achieve a valuation of millions. Among the most dramatic and valuable errors reported for 2017 pennies are double die obverse coins, where the hubbing process used to make the die results in details being duplicated or doubled on the coin, creating ghost-like shadows of design elements such as Lincoln's portrait, the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date. And when the doubling is strong and visible, especially on such a modern coin, collectors rush to own them, because dramatic doubling on a coin that should have been produced with modern precision is both unexpected and incredibly rare. And some of these examples, authenticated and graded by major services, have been valued in the hundreds of thousands and even into the millions, because the demand for them is so high and the supply is so tiny. Off-center strikes are another type of mistake that can make the 2017 penny enormously valuable, as these occur when the planchet, or blank coin, is not properly seated in the press before the dies strike it, producing a coin where the design is shifted away from the center, sometimes leaving a large crescent of blank metal visible, and the more dramatic the off-center strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still intact and legible, because without the date a coin is harder to authenticate. So in the case of the 2017 penny, off-center examples that still show the 2017 and the historic mint mark are highly prized, making them instantly collectible and worth staggering sums. Another fascinating category of error involves wrong planchet strikes, where a coin is mistakenly struck on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime or nickel, or even a foreign coin, and when this happens, the resulting coin is of the wrong size, weight, or color but still carries the design of the penny, making it an incredibly rare hybrid mistake that collectors cannot resist. And for the 2017 penny, wrong planchet errors are especially intriguing because of the symbolic importance of that year and mint mark, meaning that any example that exists would be worth not just thousands but potentially millions, because it combines the historical uniqueness of the 2017 with one of the rarest types of minting mistakes imaginable. Then there are die cracks and die breaks, which appear as raised lines or blobs on the coin where the die used to strike it has developed cracks or has broken apart, and in some extreme cases create what are called cuds, where a piece of the die has fallen away and left a large, raised, featureless blob on the coin that obscures part of the design. And while minor die cracks may not add much value, dramatic ones, especially when they occur across Lincoln's portrait, the motto, or the date, make the coin instantly collectible. And for 2017 pennies, these anomalies are considered especially desirable because they add yet another layer of uniqueness to a coin that is already a one-year-only issue. Filled die errors are another possibility, where grease, dirt, or other debris clogs part of the die and prevents the design from being fully struck, leading to missing or faint details such as letters in Liberty or numbers in the date. And on a coin like the 2017 penny, these errors stand out even more because collectors are already closely examining them for anything unusual. So examples where the mint mark itself is faint or missing due to a filled die become extraordinarily valuable. Since the mint mark is the most important feature that makes the coin historically unique, and a missing or faded P would represent one of the most dramatic and desirable errors imaginable, potentially explaining part of the $3 million valuation. Misaligned die strikes, where the obverse and reverse dies do not align perfectly, create coins where the design on one side appears shifted or rotated compared to the other, and while minor misalignments are somewhat common, extreme ones are very rare, and for a modern coin like the 2017 penny, they are even more surprising, and collectors are willing to pay huge premiums for such anomalies. Especially when the coin remains in mint state condition, untouched by circulation, because pristine errors are always worth more than those that are worn. The combination of these potential errors, double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, die cracks, filled dies, and misaligned dies, creates a wide range of possibilities for the 2017 penny, and since it was already destined to be a one-year-only type, the survival of any dramatic error instantly transforms it into a numismatic treasure. And when you factor in collector psychology, the drive to own something that no one else has, the demand for these coins skyrockets, making it plausible for certain examples to reach valuations of $3 million or more, because rarity plus demand always equals astronomical prices in the world of collectibles. But beyond the errors themselves, the 2017 penny also tells a larger story about history, symbolism, and the power of chance, because it was struck to commemorate the mint's 225th anniversary, making it a milestone coin from the start, and for collectors, owning one is owning a piece of that history. But when that coin also contains dramatic minting mistakes, it becomes a piece of history that is not just symbolic but truly unique, the kind of object that transcends its face value and becomes a centerpiece in any collection, and that is why it could command millions at auction, because it represents the convergence of history, error, rarity, and survival, a perfect storm that produces legends in the numismatic world. Imagine for a moment the thrill of someone discovering one of these 2017 pennies in their pocket change, glancing down at what they assumed was just another penny only to notice doubling on the date, an off-center strike, or a missing P, and realizing that they were holding not 1 cent but $3 million. That moment of recognition is part of what makes these stories so powerful, because they remind us that treasure is sometimes hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with a sharp eye to notice, and that is what keeps collectors and treasure hunters searching every coin they come across, hoping to find the next great discovery. The legend of the 2017 penny worth $3 million has already inspired countless people to examine their change, submit coins to grading services, and join online communities to share discoveries, fueling an ever-growing fascination with era coins and increasing the demand for them, which in turn drives prices even higher. And this cycle ensures that coins like the 2017 penny will remain iconic for generations to come, symbols of how the smallest things can hold unimaginable value. The story of this coin is not just about money, it is about the incredible potential of mistakes, the way imperfections can become treasures, and the way history, chance, and human error intersect to create objects that are priceless in the eyes of collectors. And that is what makes the 2017 penny so extraordinary. Because it embodies the idea that sometimes the most ordinary object can carry the most extraordinary story. So as we wrap up this journey into the 2017 penny worth $3 million, let this be a reminder to always check your coins carefully.